Hi class, it's Chef Twa here. Today in our study hall, I know that we are discussing a dry caramel for your flan. You can do a dry caramel or the caramel recipe that you use where it has a little bit of water in there. However, a lot of you guys are wondering what a dry caramel is, so I do want to go ahead and make a video and show you that example. I usually use a dry caramel for my flans just because it's just 100% sugar. The whole time I keep an eye on it. It keeps me very aware of what my caramel color is going to look like, and it definitely gets me to that amber color much quicker with the dry caramel version. Okay, so I do want to show that to you guys, and I'm excited to show you. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so I have a very hot pan that I have over the stove top. It's really hot, right? And I have about 1 cup of sugar, and what I'm going to do is sprinkle a little bit of sugar right here. You can see that it's already burning, right? And so continue to add more in. You can see that's already starting to caramelize as I add it in. And so you can start at a lower temperature. My stovetop kind of got much hotter than I anticipated just because I was trying to get the video ready. But you can see how the dry caramel, this is just strictly all sugar, and I'm still moving it as I'm working with it right here. See that nice amber color? And as I'm moving, you can see that the sugar is starting to melt off. As it melts off, you want to keep adding more sugar, okay? In increments. You don't want to add a bunch at the same time because you want to give it the opportunity to melt, okay? And you can see this whole time, because my pot is very hot, I'm not even putting it on the stovetop. I'm still just keeping it up. Just keeping it around the heat, but not necessarily direct heat. And you can just see that the heat of the pan itself is just melting all the caramel. And just because of some of the caramel that's already melting right here, you can see it, it's already, that heat itself in the caramel just already naturally melts the sugar. So again, I'm going to add more sugar here, just to coat, right? And again, I'm going to do that same process. Move my pot back and forth. And you have to be very careful because you do not want to burn yourself. Sugar is the worst burn that you could ever get, mainly because it sticks to you and it burns you, and it can get really bad, okay? And so you want to be very careful and aware at all times when you're making any type of sugar or caramel. You can see that as I'm moving it, it's just melting. It's just melting right then. And so, see, now all my sugar is melted again. I'm going to add in again. Same process. Move your pot. Get it to move around. Let the caramel that's already been caramelized melt your sugar. Not so much the direct heat right here, okay? Just moving it. You can actually see there's like a clump of sugar right there. Right, I'm trying to get the right angle here, so maybe I should move it right here. So there's like a clump of sugar right at the bottom right there, and so don't worry about the clumps of sugar because they are gonna eventually start melting into that caramel. Right, last bit of it right here. And so you want to work quickly. At this point, you want to make sure that you already prepped all your ramekins, ready to pour the sugar out. And do know that sugar does get darker as it sits, okay? So you do need to have really good timing when it comes to your sugar right here. And so you can see now that it's a little bit less, it's dissolving less quickly, and partly because the temperature of the pot is like slowing down. So this is when I would want to put it back onto the heat, direct heat, just to continue more of that cooking process so it continues to dissolve. Okay. See that there? Still has some sugar that needs to dissolve. So just going to keep it there, continue moving the pot. The great thing about this is that less chance of burning because you'll be standing here the whole time, right? For dry caramels, you are standing there the whole time. For caramel that you make where you add water to it, you have a tendency to burn it because it's taking a while to evaporate all the liquid. So you tend to walk away thinking that's going to take a while. but at least with this dry caramel, you're standing there the whole time, but you also get quicker results and more consistency. So you can see that now the heat is starting to get to the sugar, and it's nice and amber right here. So I'm gonna turn that off. I do want to show you the color of it. I'm not sure. See the color, nice and golden. Is what we're looking for. Amber, deep amber color. And that's the color you want for your flan, because when it's too light, you're not gonna get that beautiful finish. And so I'm gonna turn my heat actually on low because I'm gonna make this into a caramel sauce instead. And so I'm gonna leave this off the heat really quickly. Oops. This goes in. There. So I'm gonna make a caramel sauce. And here I have some heavy cream. I'll move this a little closer to show you. And being very careful at this point, okay? Because it's very dangerous when you are working with sugar and hot sugar. I'm trying to get the right angle just so that you guys can see. I think my pot's a little too high, but no worries. Little at a time. Starts to bubble. Bubbling. A little more heavy cream. Right, and now that temperature is starting to regulate a little bit, you can kind of see it's thickening up. This is going to be a little too thick. If I were to stop adding in cream at this point, you can tell that it's going to be a hard caramel. It's going to be like caramel candy. And so I continue to add in more heavy cream to make it into a sauce. Now at some point, sometimes you want it to be thick so that you can actually make it into a filling, kind of like dulce de leche, right? Very similar to our alfajores. You want to cook it less with less liquid so that it can be much thicker and more as a filling. But I'm going for the sauce today. So, and now that it's all tempered in, mix it all in really nicely right here. Cook it down. Beautiful. At this point, see it just bubbling, being very careful. Take it off the stove. And sometimes if you want a little slight salted caramel flavor to it, you can do salted butter. I always have salted butter on hand, mainly because I like to eat it with just my toast, but I do like adding about a tablespoon of salted butter right into my sauce right here. Okay, let that melt in really nicely. Beautiful finish. Just letting that melt. And I ended up with a salted caramel sauce. Butter just naturally melting in there. The sauce is very, very hot. And sometimes I like to test my consistency of my sauce just to make sure that I achieved it to the right consistency. And the way that I test that is take a little spoonful of the caramel sauce and I pour it over ice water. Okay, and I'll show you that in a little bit. Beautifully done. So right here, I have my ice water. I put it in a little deep pan or a deep plate just so that you can see it easier. But I have my sauce that's finished right here. And sometimes the recipes of the caramel sauce isn't the consistency we're looking for. Sometimes we want it thinner, sometimes we want it thicker, and sometimes we want it as a filling. So we always want to test it, and this is how you create your own recipes. And so I do want you guys to know that this recipe is equal parts of sugar and heavy cream. So I usually pour it right over the ice, and this kind of causes it to thicken up on, like you can see how it thickens up on the bottom right here. And so I want to try to show you guys again. Let's see. And so how it thickens up right here, you can see that it's on the thinner side, but it does thicken up right here. There are some parts of it, and this is where when you can grab a little bit because now it's not hot anymore, you can see that it thickened up as a sauce, right? It thickened up really nicely, but not so thick that it's like caramel or like a candy. So it's exactly what I'd use as a glaze, okay? And so, but you can see how the caramel separated itself when it got cold. And so the caramel right here, I just kind of want to show you guys. The caramel right here thickened up. Let's see if there. It thickened up. You can see that it's like a sauce. So this is caramel sauce that I would use for my coffee, because it's on the thinner side. And once it cools completely, that's gonna be exactly what it looks like. And so, let's see. Of course, I always try to put it into a bottle after it cools a little bit over ice. Oh, darn. I was doing so good until the end. No worries. And after it cools down completely, put into the fridge. It's gonna thicken up to this beautiful caramel sauce, very similar to the same texture as Starbucks, right? The Starbucks drink. So it's thin right now until I actually put it in the fridge. So we'll get into that texture in a little bit. All right, hi class. So sorry for the video being so late. I was waiting for the caramel to thicken up, and it definitely did after a few hours. So this is how thick it is, right? And I just kind of want to show you guys that it's like a sauce. And I love using this for coffee because it just thickens up really nicely. It also thickens up really nicely for plating dessert. And it also works really well for not only coffee, plain desserts, but also as a glaze. So, you probably want, if you use this as a glaze, you probably want to use it a little bit before it solidifies this hard, right? This one's really thick, so you want to kind of thin it out a little bit. You want to get to the right viscosity to cover your cake, but once you cover your cake, it will solidify to this texture that we're looking for, okay? Which ends up looking really nice, and just kind of want to show you the viscosity of it. Very nice viscosity, nice and thick. And that's through the dry caramel method, you could say. So, just wanted to show you guys, this is just what I love to do with the dry caramel. I use it for flan, I use it for my sauces, I use it for my glazes, I use it for my eclair glazes as well. This is one of my favorite recipes for my eclair glaze that I sell on a weekly basis. So it turns out really nice, and when you have it with coffee, it's delicious. So I want to do the full effect for you guys. It turned out really beautiful. You see caramel with the coffee, yummy. So it turned out really nice, and I hope this recipe works for you guys and that you guys enjoyed this video, because it's teaching you how to do a dry caramel, which is very consistent. You get really great results, and also, again, the recipe is equal parts. You can do more than this. Equal parts of sugar and heavy cream, and about 1 tablespoon of salted butter. I use salted butter. You don't really taste the salt. It just has a slight saltiness undertone, but it's not actually salted caramel. To make it more salted, you do want to add sea salt to it, okay? But enjoy, have a great weekend, and you guys can always reach out to me if you guys have any questions. Bye.